Hello and welcome to the video for web design week 17 and Wednesday. Okay, so we're going to continue to work on this page in Wildcord, and we're going to reference the article about how to create a good and effective landing page and make some changes to the page. So the first thing I want to do, if you recall, the page has a couple of games on it, and in this game right here, last time we just put a picture, basically a screenshot of the online version of the game. Well, since that time, I've taken a bunch of screenshots of the game from different angles. So I'd like to go back and replace this with a gallery. So if you recall, we had a gallery at first. It had 3 or 4 just placeholder images. They didn't look very strong, so we replaced it with a picture, which looks stronger. But of course, the potentially most effective use of that space would be to have a gallery that had a number of images that were impressive to sort of pull people in to play the game. So if you recall, I tried out different web galleries, and one of the ones that I liked was this one called Envira. And so it makes a new tab over here on the left side of your dashboard when you add the Envira plugin. And then you can add a new gallery just by clicking on this button here, Add New. And so I can go down here and I can say, I want to make a new gallery, so I can just give this a name. Assuming I can type, I can give it a name. Okay. And then I can select the files from my computer, and these are them. And, I'll just show you a couple of these files here. So like I said, these are screenshots taken from the software Tabletop Simulator, which allows you to take a board game and put it into sort of a 3D environment so people can play it online. And so I've got all these pictures, and they're actually kind of huge, and they take a long time to upload. So I've actually already uploaded these into a separate gallery. I'm just sort of showing you the purpose. So let me just upload 2 of them so it doesn't take all day here. But I'll just hit open, and then you can see that this line going across is showing the progress bar, showing the progress of the uploading images. And like I said, these images, I made them really big, probably too big because they take a while to load, which means that they'd be even worse, take even longer to load on mobile devices. So that's going to be a bit prohibitive. I'm probably going to have to go back in and make them a little smaller. Okay, so it says all images uploaded, and you can see right here the 2 images are uploaded. You can edit the images here, and you can trash the images here. So let's see what happens if we choose to edit an image. So it looks like you can change the URL where it's posted. You can put some alternative text, which will come up in a browser that has images turned off. You can make it so you can open your links in new browsers, and of course you can change the name of this. So if I wanted it to look a little better, I could possibly put Blue Army Save Metadata, right? Okay, and then when you're all done with your changes, you can close it. You can hit publish, and it will give you what's called the short code, which you can then paste into your document. So here's the short code. You can use either of these. This is code you can put deeper into your PHP web pages for WordPress if you want to be sophisticated about where you put the gallery. But all you really need is a little bit of code like this to drop it in on a page. Now, as I said, I've already made this gallery because it took a while to make. And if I go over here to all galleries, I can scroll down and I can show you what the one I made a little earlier looks like. So it's the same idea, except it just has more pictures, so it took longer, right? But once again, if you want to, change these entries, make them look a little better, because what it does, it takes the title of your pictures and just throws them in the title tag here, and it looks a lot better if you capitalize them. And maybe if the names of your titles were kind of hyphenated like this in lowercase, then you can make them look better like this. click Save Metadata, and then you got to remember to close. Okay, so you can see, like, this looks a lot better than, purple-army, stuff like that. Okay, so I just paused the video for a second and started it up again and went in here and, updated all of these so that they're all, complete words with capitalization and everything. And one thing that occurred to me is you can use these names for search engine optimization. So you could say, you could put in a longer phrase here like online game board, or since this game is called Skyro's online game board and tabletop simulator. I know it sounds like a ridiculous name, but let me go ahead and type that real quick so you can see what it looks like. So Skyro's online game board in tabletop simulator. So like I said, it seems like kind of a ridiculous name, but look at all the keywords that are in here. So the name of the game, the name of the software that's being used, the fact that it's an online game board, right? So, obviously part of website design, it's not only making things look good, it's making them function well. And functioning is not just um, that you can click on page navigation and you go to a page and everything works properly. It's also what goes on behind the scenes, things like metadata and keywords, which help bring people to your site. And so whenever you have an opportunity to sort of insert metadata that will help from a search engine perspective, keywords and such, it's a good idea to do that. Okay, but we'll just hit update here, and that will update the existing gallery. Now, inserting the gallery is, it's no big deal. We've done it before. It's just the process of grabbing the little Elementor widget and dragging it into, grabbing a text widget and dragging it into the right-hand side of the, let's see. Let me just stay here. And let me go to the page itself and bring it up in Elementor. So we are looking for the games page. I'm going to edit with Elementor. Now I've already dragged the gallery in here, but I'll just remind you of the process. So see how it says, I went back to having text that says image gallery, and then down here there's just a text box, which I grabbed over here from the text editor and dragged over here. And if I click on it, it seems like there's nothing in there, but there's the Envira gallery shortcode, which pulls in the gallery itself. Okay. I've also made some other changes to the text. Both of these games are being played in a online convention at the end of the month, and so I put the dates here along with that are links, to go look at the information for the game. So I'm trying to make the website. When you work on a website, like I said, there's form and function, the two aspects of a website, and you're always kind of working on both simultaneously. So, and here's a good example. I'm making an image gallery which both will look better and be more functional, in that, like we just talked about, if you optimize the keywords on there, it will help with the searches for this type of game, or this game in particular. But also it's a more attractive look and a greater pull to potential consumers of the game to have all those images. So that looks good, and it's also functional. Same over here. You have a nice looking block of text. It's not too big, but then there's a functionality to it. It's telling them when the games occur, and these are actually links so they can find out more about the games. This is a link so they can check out the software that's being used. So yeah, like I said, I dragged a text box over here and wrote image gallery. I dragged a text widget over here and dropped in my short code. And so now when we view this, let's see, what do I have to do here? I have to go to the front page of this. There we go. And now you can see the image gallery, and these are the images. They're nice and big. Like I said, they take just a second to load. On my computer, which is, connected to the internet by a pretty decent connection. So, which means that on mobile device these will take probably too long. So the problem is I made them way too big, and then the software is even crunching them down to this size. If your images are in the megabytes, then maybe you need to crunch them down a little bit, which is the case what I need to do here. Okay, but so there's our gallery. I move this text down by adding some negative bottom margin to it to move it down, and I move this up a little bit. I'm just trying to get those closer together because there was a huge gap there when you first make it. And you've seen me do that type of thing. You've probably done that yourself in the Elementor software. Now the next thing I want to talk about is jumping over here to the article that I've referenced, which is how to create a compelling landing page. One of the things they say is that you have to define your value proposition. And of course, a reminder, a value proposition is basically it's a statement, a short statement, so it can catch attention, of what the value is of your product or service and how it will benefit the consumer. So for example, Skype's value proposition is Skype makes it easy to stay in touch, talk, chat, collaborate, right? So the first part outlines what benefit it provides, while the second explains how it delivers. So my value proposition for these games, I'm going to build it off of this idea of Skype, which is something similar. It's an online collaboration tool, and I'm thinking one of the biggest hooks about the product I'm selling, which is this game, is that it's a way to collaborate online, to hang out with your friends and family and loved ones, especially during this time, when we're all somewhat under quarantine. So my idea was to take this and sort of rewrite it for this website. So let's take a look at what I came up with here. Okay, so if we jump over here to this word processing program, OpenOffice, you'll see that I have the Skype value proposition typed in here. Skype makes it easy to stay in touch, talk, chat, collaborate, right? And so this is what I just wrote. So they mentioned the product here, and so I mentioned my product, Wildcord Games, right? And I also mentioned that they're online. People, Skype has a name now, so people, they don't have to say, Skype online teleconferencing software or whatever. So they can just say Skype, but I'm saying online because just a game, you could play a game. It could be a board game, it could be a physical soccer-like game or whatever. So just saying it's an online game is a great way to stay connected, right? So that's like collaboration to the people you love. So playing Wildcore games online is a great way to stay connected to the people you love. Now, I could take this online out, and it's a lot smoother like that. Playing Wildcore games is a great way to stay connected to the people you love, and it's if I take, let me go back and put this back in. When you're making decisions about value propositions or taglines or whatever, you can look at the benefits of having them different ways. So playing Wildcore games is a great way to stay connected to the people you love. Playing Wildcore games online is a great way to stay connected to the people you love. So there's a couple of options you have here. I'm gonna make a third version of this. You could sort of rename your product. You could say you could rename your product Wildcord Online Games, which just bakes that into the product name, right? I'm not really crazy about that, so let's get rid of that idea. But that brings up another idea, which is since I've capitalized this, maybe the product you're selling is Wildcord Games, with capital G there, because this is the whole product. So let's see. So now I just have to decide um, if I like using this word online in here. So let me read it one more time. Playing wildcard games online is a great way to stay connected to the people you love. Playing wildcard games is a great way to stay connected to the people you love. Well, I would have to say that even though it's a little less smooth with this word online in it, um, that if I put the G in here, which you know uh, I got from down here, that this is the whole product, um, and then having the online in there, I think is good and is important because it tells you where the games are located. Um, uh, a little more, I don't think wildcard games is as catchy a phrase as just wild court. So I'm just going to go back to that. Okay, so this was my final decision, but you can see the process of making different choices. You might disagree with it, but at least you're going through the process and making the best decision for yourself. And of course, if you have other people to bounce this off of, it's great. Send it to your friends or family members or collaborators and say, which one do you like? These are my reasons, and then maybe you can come up with the strongest one. So this is what I like right here. So what I'm going to do is copy this and go back to the website. And let's see. Okay, so that tagline I think should be up at the top of the page. So we want to click on our text. Let's see. We want to go to our widgets. We are in our widgets, and we're going to click text editor. We're going to grab that, and we're going to drag it down here right underneath the wild cord. Right. So it'll say wild cord, and then we can paste in um, the the phrase that we have here, right? Now, of course, when you do a phrase like this, which is sort of a value proposition, you generally don't have um, exactly correct grammar in there. You can take periods and exclamation points off unless you need them. But then we can do some other things here to sort of spice this up. So notice that it came in bold. I can add the italics to it. And then let's see, I can make it, let's see the different choices that I have here. Looks like, wow, there's a bunch of junk in here. Let me get rid of all this junk and let me try repasting it in. So let's see. If I would love to repaste it in without anything. It just seems to always come in with something. Let's see, paragraph, no bold. Okay, now let's see what it looks like over here. Let's see. It is, oh, I see. It's putting in all this junk from unfortunately, from the program, uh, the Open Office program. It's putting in all this sort of formatting junk. And so I want to get rid of all of that so that I can just have the text. That's what I want. I just want the text so that then I can play with it and make the changes I want. So that's what it looks like when you type it in there. So now we can do the bold, we can do italic. We can go down here and use like heading 3, which makes a nice size font in there. And then we can even add some color to this. We could go down here and choose something like a dark green or something like that. And so if I then update this, then we can preview it. And so now you get a couple things. You get this value proposition, which also kind of serves like a tagline or whatever. It just stands out because first of all, it's bigger, it's bolder, it's italicized, it's at the top of the page, and it's a different color. So when you talk about page hierarchy, meaning what are people going to see first? What's most important? Well, they've seen all this stuff already at the top and the header. They've seen the image and the background and the logos because that was on the home page. Or even, if they come to this landing page, they'll see this. And, this is kind of interesting. But then if you look at it, it's almost if you took out a pen and you just kind of drew some lines around here, this is a triangle. It's a visual triangle that's pointing you down here. And then here is the payoff, right? Um, Now, I do have one problem with what's going on here, which is this word wildcard is repeated 3 times with no change. And to me, that's kind of annoying. It might be good from a search engine perspective, but I find it annoying visually. I don't want to read the same word over and over again. So one thing I would probably do is change this phrase here. Uh, maybe I can just make it as simple as just putting in, wildcard games. Okay, and then I can, hit my preview button. And so now it's a little different. I mean, out of the corner of your eye, you're going to see that. You're going to see this big thing here, but then this text is a little different from that. So it's changing it up a little bit. Okay, so that creates a value proposition for us. I might later on go back through, this text to make sure that it is following up on the promise here. Because I had written this text before, and this is just sort of a description of the games. But now that I've put a value proposition in here, I probably want to reemphasize the value proposition in this text. So I want to say things about stay connected to your friends and family, play online, have fun, blah, 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 blah. So that's just further supporting this phrase here. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, so we've written our value proposition. We put it in a prominent place. Let's see. So here's some more advice on how to create your value proposition, which you guys can look at. Okay. It says not, but I think that's a grammatical error. I think it should be note. Note that your value proposition isn't just limited to this one sentence. Make a list of all the benefits you provide to customers, and then any features of your offering that allow you to deliver these benefits, right? Okay, so, and you can see here's a list of benefits for a specific product. Now that's a really good idea, and when I think of a list of benefits, obviously you could break them out into a large format like this, which is very effective. But even to a smaller degree, you could break them out in bullet points in your text. Now, so for example, let's see. Let's just say, and I can come back and edit this later or whatever, but we got 2 paragraphs here. So let's say that first paragraph, um, we were going to use it as sort of a lead into a bullet pointed list of benefits. So I could say something like, um, you know, and like I said, I'll go back and edit this later. So let's see if this makes sense. So Wildcard is a medieval fantasy strategy game system. I probably need to add online so that it connects to this. Wildcard is an online medieval fantasy strategy game system. It was developed to be part of a set of traditional board game adventures. Let's see. So let's see. I think I want to take some of this stuff out. So online medieval, blah, blah, it was developed to be played as a set of traditional board game adventures. So I don't think that needs to. We don't necessarily need to know that history right now. Let me see what happens if let me see if I take this out. I'll just take it out. And if you want to keep, it's a good idea to keep, text, especially text that you've spent a little time on around. I'll drop it in here. It doesn't matter that it changed color or whatever, but this is like my mood board or whatever, my paste bin. I can come back there and grab that later if I need to. But Wildcard is an online medieval fantasy strategy game system. Now this description just kind of kills me. I got to get rid of some of these words here. So Wildcard is an online medieval strategy game system, and I misspelled online. Okay. Um, um, Benefits include is too short of a phrase here. Um, uh, we could just say something like the game features, and then just put a colon here, and then hit our enter button, and then go to a bulleted list. I'm assuming we could go to a bullet list. I don't know what I just clicked. I thought it was a bulleted list. Oops. It was a bulleted list, but what it did was it made that thing into a bullet point, which I didn't actually want to do. So let's see if I turn that off. Seems to be a little slow on the uptake here. There we go. So let me just say point 1, point 2, and point 3, and see if I can get the computer to recognize that I just want those 3 things to be bullets, not everything else. And so it seems to be doing a weird little thing here. Yeah, see how it's putting the bullet point up there? So that's fairly annoying. I think I don't know why it's so dysfunctional in this regard, but you know, if something like this happens, you can always just go in and put in the code yourself. So we're going to undo that because obviously, or we're trying desperately to undo it. Okay, it did get undone, which is good. Now let's go put in the code ourselves. So to put in code yourself in this Elementor program, you have to click on the text button, and then that takes you down to the coding level. So what we want to do is make something called an unordered list, and the code to create that is UL. So that means you're going to make an unordered list. Unordered because it doesn't have numbers on it, and an ordered list, OL, has numbers. And then you put /UL to say that you're ending the list item there. Now then each bullet point has to be a list item. So it starts out with a tag li to begin the list item, and then ends with /li to end the list item. Now you can retype those, or you can copy and paste them in. You know, after each list item, there's going to be an end list item tag. Before each list item, there's going to be a begin list item tag, right? And so you can see that this is now the way I want it to look. Let's see. I'm going to put a little return there. This I would hope that this would put a little more space between these 2 lines, but it doesn't seem to be doing it. I'm not sure how WordPress responds to break tags. It doesn't seem to like them very much. I might be able to put this whole thing inside of a paragraph tag when I get back over here to the visual to put some space in there. Oh, it seems like it does like the non-breaking space tag. That's what this is, ampersand NBSP semicolon. That's a special character which creates a space. So let me put it in there. Wow, too much space. Okay, so maybe if I just have a little faith in the system here, let's see, leave a little space like that, and we'll see how it comes out over here. There we go. It's looking way better now. Okay. All right. So I've made my my bullet point system there, and now I can come up with some different points, some different benefits that I think will be attractive to people for this product. Okay, so in deciding what bullet points to put here, I just paused the video for a second and wrote down 5 or 6 bullet points that could go in here. And now we'll go over and take a look at them and talk about how I came up with them and figure out which ones to put in here. So go back to OpenOffice. And what I did, and this is what I'll often do when I need to come up with some information about a product or a service, is I use all of the questions. These are the questions that you typically ask if you're doing something like creating an invitation to a party or a wedding or something like that. You want to answer all these questions like, you know, who's getting married, when is it, why should I come, how do I get there, all that kind of stuff. So the who, what, where, why, when, and how, you can just write all those words down and then answer all of those questions, right? Now, all of these aren't necessarily, they don't all necessarily have to be bullet points. Some of them are already explained in the information, like what is it we're talking about? Well, we're talking about Wildcore Online Games. So you really don't need this piece of information here. But who is it for? That's important for ages 12 and up. where can they play, and you want to tell them that it doesn't matter where they're located. All they need is access to a computer, and they can play. So that is a benefit. Let's go ahead and make the ones that we're going to use a different color here. So we'll just make them this orange color here. So I think that where is important. I think this one's important. This one already is sort of mentioned. A great way to have fun while staying connected to friends and family. That's the why. And once again, that's basically our tagline or our value proposition, right? Um, and that's already been mentioned. So I don't feel like we really need to say that one. Oops, went down a little too far. In fact, if I sometimes when I want to sort of de-emphasize stuff, I put it in a different color, like a lighter gray or whatever, so that it shows that it's sort of not as important, or it's been considered. In this case, it's of course important, but it's already been considered and been, shuffled off to the back shelf for whatever reason. Okay. Uh, Play anytime. That's pretty easy and valuable information. So I can put that back in the yes column. And then of course, I took this out earlier. That was some of the text that I pasted in up here, so I could sort of paste that back in and make that an important part of this. Okay, so now we have 4 bullet points that we can put in there. And we even have the text here for them. So back on the web page, we only made 3 bullet points, so let's go ahead, and all we have to do is copy the code for one of these bullet points and paste it in underneath. And there's our 4 bullet points, right? Okay, so then we can go back and get the copy. Now I'm afraid that if I paste this in, I'm going to go through the same stuff I did before, where it's going to put all the formatting in. So I'm just going to go ahead and look at the information, then type it. So recommended for ages 12 and up. Okay, so we'll just take this point 1 and put recommended for ages 12 and up. And then the next, play online. Let's see. Let's we've already talked about the fact it's an online board game, so play games with your friends and family no matter where they're located. Okay, that sounds like a good option to me. Let's see. Play with friends and family no matter where they're located. Okay. Next we have play anytime. That's an easy one. Play anytime. And you could go back through and figure out which of these are the most important and put those at the top. Play, and I could say play using tabletop simulator, and then make that a link. So here's the link right here. Once again, I'm afraid if I use that, I'm going to get all kinds of weird code and stuff coming in. So let's just say play with tabletop simulator software. Okay, and then we can go in here, and I could have typed that in this view. It actually would have been a little easier from this view. And highlight that tabletop simulator, and click the link button, and then put in the link to that software website, tabletopsimulator.com. Okay. And then update my page and preview it. Now, some of this is a little incongruous, like I say the game features, and then this is not really a feature, this is just kind of information about the game. Maybe this gets moved down to this information under words like right here or something like that. So play with friends and family no matter where they're located, play anytime, play with tabletop simulator software. So let's do that. Let's move I mean, a nice thing about this is you have that word play repeated 3 times. So let's say that we wanted to get rid of this. So we have to do 2 things. We have to take that out, that text, and then we also have to get rid of that bullet point. And then maybe we can just kind of throw this at the end of the paragraph here. Oops, of course, it's a bullet point, and we have to try and get rid of that. Okay, there we go. And then, okay, we need to put a, you don't want to say up, you don't want to end with a preposition there. So recommended for ages 12 and older. Okay, and then we can update that. All right, so, obviously at my leisure I can come back and improve this. As I said, take whichever are the biggest selling points and bring them to the top, right? But I think that is a good, I think we've made good progress on the page. So, just to summarize what we did, we put in a new image gallery, which you can see over here, which, of the things that I've had in there, first I had sort of a placeholder image gallery in the past, and then just a solid picture. Of all those, this is the most powerful and most effective because of the different pictures that it has, and its ability to tell a story about the product. And by the way, one of the things that I did on that gallery, I wanted to mention to you, when I first put in my thumbnails for the gallery, it put in a lot of space. Let me kind of show you what it did. So if I go to the Skyrose gallery here, because I remember the numbers that were involved. So let's see, where is it? I think is it config? Yeah, this is it. So when I first made the gallery, it has this area called, these are all ways that you can customize the gallery. And it had automatic layout row height, right? And this number was 150. I remember that because I changed it. And so, if you take a look at the way the gallery is now with the amount of spacing and the amount of images and the thumbnails, you can see, I think that looks pretty good. But watch what happens when I take it back to its default of 150, and then I want to update this gallery. And now if we go look at it again and hit refresh, you see how it's made the thumbnails bigger, but it's put a huger amount of space in here. And then also, because I have 8 images instead of 9, it looks kind of weird. It's not quite here. So I would have had to take another screenshot, make another image so that didn't look weird. And then it was hard to figure out how to reduce the size here and here. And this may be, this is probably intentional. The people who make the software, they give you just enough features so that you get used to it, but then they hoard the features that they know you're going to need, like being able to change the layout of this, unless you pay for the upgrade. And you can see here that they prominently feature the upgrade down here at the bottom. But anyway, my solution to that was just to change this to 120 pixels instead of 150. And I experimented with a couple of different options there, different numbers, higher and lower, and eventually arrived at that. And then, of course, when you refresh after you make that change, it is just a better format. Okay, so we made a little more progress on this page. Like I said, we created a value proposition and featured it prominently. We changed this text here so it wasn't too repetitive and redundant with what's going on there. We made some bullet points of some of our benefits, and we rearranged this text a little bit, and added in this this gallery, which is stronger. I also, as I said previous to starting the video, added in some times when you could sign up for the games to make it even more functional. So other thoughts that I have are, for the future, I can go ahead and put in a headline here, something about, get in touch with us or stay connected or learn more, because this is, and we'll do this in the next video. Now we're going to start approaching the call to action part of this, because remember the whole purpose of this particular page or any website or landing page that you're creating is to encourage the audience, the user, to do something, to have a call to action and get them as much as possible to point in the direction of doing something, like clicking a button, like one of these, or filling out a form, to get more information. So, what are some possible things we could think about in the future there? Where, for example, I talked about clicking a button. This right down here is just text, right? If this were some big beautiful button that said sign up to play free or whatever, it would be way more encouraging and easier to compel people to click on it. Plus, it would just be bigger and it would stand out. Right now, all of that text is kind of getting lost in the little sea of text that's on this page, because what you really see when you come to this page are the visuals. You see that pronounced visual. You see this, but you see this because it's text, but it became a visual by being larger and bolder, italicized and colored, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. As you start to scroll down through this page, you're going to start, your vision is going to blur a little bit, because you're like, oh, text, images, right? It all sort of becomes this great wash of information. So then you want things that are going to stand out. So one possibility for the next video is to put some, like I said, some buttons down here, and then definitely a big call out here of a title to this contact form section, and then maybe some big incentive to get people to do this. Maybe there will be something free that they get if they sign up for the email newsletter. So just further going down the road to making this page more functional, better looking, and have potentially a higher conversion rate. Okay, so let's stop there. Please continue to work on your final projects, your websites. I am going to remind you every time from here on out that in order for me to give you a grade for those websites, you need to send me a link to the website, because you made those websites on your own with your SiteGround account that they gave you for free. I have no idea where they are, and so I can't give you a grade unless you send me a link. So please do so. And also, as usual, let me know if you have any questions or problems. I'll be happy to help. Okay, so have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week. Thanks. Bye.